Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I am your host, the real Geno Reynolds, and today we've got a bit of a double feature for you. It's the other two movies that came out this last weekend. Replicas starring Keanu Reeves and The Upside starring Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. Now, I will warn you, these are probably going to be spoilerish reviews. If you don't want them spoiled, I will tell you this. Replicas is kind of dumb, and The Upside, honestly, I don't think is as bad as critics are making it out to be. Now, is it the greatest movie of the year? No. Should it be number one of the movies that came out this weekend? Yes. But is it terrible? No. Well, anyway, let's get into these. First, let's talk about Replicas. Boy, oh boy, let's talk about Replicas. What this movie is about, Keanu Reeves plays a scientist whose life's work is to be able to transfer the human mind into robotics. That way they can prolong people's lives. They're looking into all the implications of prolonging people's lives, living more than one lifetime. But these robots keep rejecting the data, or whatever you want to call it, because they don't understand that it's them, and they don't see their own hands and things like that, and they freak out and they try to kill themselves. So this company that he works for is finding out that, well, if they keep failing, they're going to pull their funding. So of course this is a perfect time for Keanu Reeves to take his family on a little mini vacation, because of the time crunch, right? So anyway, after much foreshadowing, Keanu Reeves and his family are driving to go borrow this boat from a friend of his from work, who's another one of the main characters. And after much foreshadowing, they get in a car crash, and everybody but Keanu Reeves dies. His wife and 3 kids. So instead of making a phone call and saying, hey, there's been an accident, he calls his friend to bring the thing that takes the mind essence from people, and he takes all the mind essence from all of his family and asks his friend to get rid of the body, or get rid of the bodies, because he can't bring himself to do it. So then also in this world, apparently cloning is happening, and they've been able to clone animals. Haven't cloned humans yet, so why not try it? Let's just try it on Keanu Reeves' family. So it turns out, though, there's only 3 pods, so he can only bring back 3 of his 4 family members, and he has to choose one, and then to not bring back. And then he also tries to erase the memory of this one that he chooses out of the other people's minds, other family members' minds. And boy, this movie is just got a lot going on. So that's the gist of the story. He's creating clones. He's trying to figure out how to put the minds of his family back into him, all the while erasing the one that he randomly chose to not try to replicate, and try to get this robot to accept the brainwaves, because that's the key to getting his family to accept their brainwaves, their memories and everything. But then, not only is that stuff going on, but the company he's working for is also some shady company in the end, that they're not trying to help people. They're trying to create super soldiers and things, because why not take the memory of the best pilot ever and make hundreds of best pilots ever, and soldiers, the same thing with soldiers and everything else. And money's involved. So yeah, there is a lot going on in this movie. Now, I don't even know where to begin with this one. Just the fact that everything seems to work unless the plot needs it not to work, is just, it just gets silly really quick. Things are going to be, what's going to be a problem later. Because he goes through the house, and the one person he randomly chose not to bring back, he has to get rid of all signs of them, pictures and drawings and anything with their name on it. It's like, and then then he also has to cover up for the other four, or the other three, being gone through their social media and emails and places of work, and it is just so, it's like, okay, this movie, at least the majority of it, takes place within 17 to 20 days. There's a lot going on for 17 to 20 days to solve all your problems, to clone 3 human beings, to figure out how to get their consciousness back. There's just too much going on that I want to know how this movie made it to theaters. I'm guessing it's because they're trying to maybe give Keanu Reeves a little stock before the next John Wick movie comes out. That's really the only thing I can think of. But this is, at best, it should have been straight to VOD. But even that, it's not that good. Just the science is too... when they're building this, or trying to give the consciousness of this robot, it feels a little too much like RoboCop. And then the cloning feels like other movies. It feels like it borrowed from a lot of different movies and just kind of crammed them together. Even just as a B-rated sci-fi movie, it's just not that good. I mean, I like Keanu Reeves. I like Alice Eve. But just the things that happen in this, Keanu Reeves' character is so irrational. And if he keeps asking his friend, who also works with him, played by Thomas Middleditch, he keeps asking him to do these absurd things. He asks them to get rid of his family's bodies. He asks him to choose which one he gets rid of, and of course his friend tells him, "Screw that, that's on you." He asks him to steal cloning pods. He asks him to just do all this ridiculous stuff, and in a movie, where they can clone people, because I'm spoiling this for you guys. In the end, he's able to get the people chasing him off his back. This Shadow Corporation. He ends up bringing the other kid back anyway, because his family in the course of the movie do learn that they are replicas. And then he brings her back as well, because he took her consciousness when she died, so he had it. So he just had to clone her again, or clone her. He also, they get away scot-free. He does figure out how to transfer consciousness into a robot's, which he does with his own consciousness. So we have robot Keanu Reeves involved. But the one that gets screwed is Thomas Middleditch's character. The one that has to do all this horrible crap, make all these horrible decisions on should he help his friend or not. And he's the one that gets shot in the head and doesn't get to come back. So, this movie, it's just too ridiculous to even recommend, even when it comes out. If you're going to watch it for free on like Netflix or something, because I have a feeling it'll probably show up there. Or somewhere where it's a subscription service. Don't buy it. Don't rent it. It's just not worth watching. Now, the next movie we're going to talk about is The Upside, starring Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston, Nicole Kidman. This is based on or inspired by a true story. And I will mention that also this movie, or this story, was already adapted into a couple other movies. The Untouchables is one of them. But this one kind of takes it from another country and Americanizes it, kind of, trying to tell their own version of it. What it's about a former criminal who just gets out of prison, and he's trying to make good with the mother of his child and his kid. He's trying to do right, and he ends up getting a job taking care of a quadriplegic who got injured. He's very rich, and he got injured. It was like paragliding. It wasn't skydiving, but it was like skydiving. I think it was paragliding. And he gets paralyzed, but he's off doing this stuff, and his wife is dying of cancer, and she dies of cancer, so he's all depressed. And it's about these two finding friendship in each other and learning from each other and everything else. What I liked about this movie is, first of all, I was hoping that we would get a toned down Kevin Hart. Look, I think Kevin Hart is talented, but when he's allowed to just ad-lib the entire time and yell and scream and, hey, I'm short and all this stuff, I'm loud and I'm short, I get annoyed very quickly with Kevin Hart. But in this movie, most of the time, he's very subdued. His humor is more toned down. He's making jokes. He's using his charm and not his loud voice. And it works. It really works. I want to see Kevin Hart try to do more stuff like this. Also, you get some decent dry humor from Bryan Cranston as well. And the two of them together, I thought, made a pretty good on-screen team. So a lot of critics are out there saying that, well, this movie isn't it isn't The Untouchables. It isn't The Untouchables. Well, you know what? I haven't seen The Untouchables, so I'm judging it just on this one. I imagine maybe The Untouchables is a better movie, and it's apparently closer to the source material and to the real story. I'm fine with that, but I'm judging this movie just as this movie, and honestly, I was quite entertained. I thought it was funny. I thought it had some heart to it. It's pretty predictable. You kind of know that things in the end are gonna be okay. But I had a lot of fun and was entertained by Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston as a group, or as a duo. And, you know, Nicole Kidman plays kind of the hard-nosed assistant to Bryan Cranston's character. And, of course, you kind of know in the end she's going to be a love interest, even though they tease another love interest, which, funny story, there's these girls in the theater last night that, you know, he finally is going to go meet this woman he's been writing letters to back and forth, and this girl finally leaves like a phone number, and Kevin Hart kind of forces him to, he calls the number and is like, here, talk to her. And it ends up being Juliana Margulies, and she walks into the restaurant, and hey, and I'll say this, Juliana Margulies, extremely attractive woman. But the funny thing about these girls in the theater, when Juliana Margulies' character walks in, these girls go, "Oh, she's so pretty," and I'm thinking to myself, you know, this isn't going to work out. You know that him and Nicole Kidman's character are probably going to end up together. Come on. And she's so pretty. First of all, yeah, pretty don't solve everything. And her character seems nice at first, but she ends up thinking it's too much that she's having to feed this guy and everything. And she ends up saying, well, my therapist thought this would be a good idea and all this stuff. So you knew this wasn't going to work out, even though, she's so pretty. But anyway, this movie just shows how their friendship, how they learn from each other, how they work through their problems together, how Bryan Cranston's character learns that there is life after the passing of his wife. And then also Kevin Hart's character is the money he's making, he's giving it to the mother of his child because he owes her like a ton of child support, and he's really trying to make right, even though people are trying to bring him back into the criminal life. And this same criminal starts to talk to his son, so he has to defend his son. So there's just all sorts of heart in this movie. There's lots of good humor in it. Am I going to put this on my best 10 of the year? No. But is it an entertaining movie that has a great duo a decent love story, some decent heart to it, yeah, it's a very entertaining movie, and I had a good time watching it. It might be a little long, but you know what? I was enjoying myself, and granted, it may be because I watched it right after I watched Replicas, but no, I had a good time with this movie. Is it a rush to the theater to go see? No. But if you want to see Kevin Hart do something just a little different, you want to see him have good chemistry, because when he works with somebody else and has good chemistry, like, say, when he worked with The Rock, then, I mean, granted, that was a little more crazy, and this is more subdued humor. Him and Bryan Cranston play really well off each other, and also Kevin Hart plays really well off of Nicole Kidman, too. You know, you get to see his character change. You get to see Bryan Cranston's character change, and it's just a decent movie. Again, go see it in the theaters? No. Rent it? Most definitely. That's going to be all for this edition of the Talking Movies Double Feature. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Geno YouTube channel, like this video, and if you have anything to say about either of these movies, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Until next time, I'm your host, the Real Geno Reynolds. See you later.